Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Noreen and I do watercolor tutorials, paintings, and art supply reviews. Today I wanted to do something a bit more relaxing, so I chose this mystical garden scene from unsplash.com. The link to the reference photo is in the description along with links to all of the materials. Today I'm using Smith and Qor watercolor paints, as well as Winsor Newton Designers gouache. The paper is Arteza 100% cotton, and I'm using silver black velvet brushes. I started this painting by spraying the paper down with water and spreading that around with my brush before laying in the background wash. One of the things I'm always trying to improve on is to just be more loose in my painting style and not get so bogged down in the details too quickly. I thought this would be a good subject for this exercise because there are a lot of large areas of color that I could get down in big washes. Also, plants and flowers are really good subjects for loose paintings because it's easy to get that leafy shape with a round brush, so you don't have to be as precise. I really loved the colors in this reference too. Those of you who have been following me for a bit know that I'm a huge fan of quinacridone rose, and I use it in pretty much every piece. I mixed quinacridone rose, French ultramarine, and Payne's gray to get the different shades of pink and purple throughout this painting. For the greens, I used French ultramarine and Payne's gray along with nickel azo yellow and Hansa yellow light. I really like the nickel azo yellow from Qor because it spreads out like crazy, so you can get some really neat effects when it goes on the paper with other colors from another brand like Smith. For the shadows, I used whatever was on my palette with Payne's gray. I like this method for shadows because it uses the same colors that are in the rest of the piece and really helps pull it all together. That's why I really don't use black, even though Payne's gray does have a black pigment in it. I like to tone it with whatever other colors I'm already using. This helps to make the shadows feel like they're part of the same subject rather than standing out. If you're new to my channel and you're interested in learning more about painting with watercolors, go ahead and click the subscribe button in the lower right corner of the video. I post a new video every week. I just recently purchased myself a set of these silver black velvet brushes, and so far I'm really loving them. They are blended brushes, meaning the bristles contain both synthetic and natural fibers, so they will hold more water and paint than fully synthetic brushes, but they aren't as expensive as brushes with all natural bristles. I've used other blended brushes such as the Escoda and the Princeton Elite brushes. Both of those are great and I love using them. But these silver black velvet brushes hold more water and paint, and the brush itself seems to be much softer, which is great for when I'm painting multiple layers. They also come to a really nice fine point, so one or two brushes can really serve you well. I'm definitely planning to do a video on how to mix different blacks and how to use them based on the color palette that you've chosen for your piece. So if that's something you're interested in, definitely let me know in the comments. I really enjoyed painting this scene. I felt like I could be pretty free with my shapes and color choices. The pinks and purples in the trees and the yellow-green in the back is so relaxing and uplifting. It's like a beautiful spring scene. Unsplash.com is a great resource and I use it all the time. This is totally not sponsored, but the reason I use Unsplash is because the photos there are licensed under Creative Commons, so they're free to use, And if I sell a piece based on a reference from there, I don't run into any copywriting issues. But besides that, the photos are super high quality and there are just so many to choose from. Pixabay is another good resource for reference photos, and though I haven't used it yet, I know they have a much larger collection than Unsplash does, so both are fantastic choices. You can see here I mixed the Payne's Gray with some of the Hansia Light to get sort of a greeny tone. So Payne's Gray has French ultramarine, or the pigment that's used to make French ultramarine, and a black pigment. So mixing it with a yellow will bring out kind of a dark green neutral tone, which I really wanted to use on the right side of this painting where the shadows were more green and dark, and I think it worked out pretty well. I also just went ahead and mixed in some of that purple neutral tone that I had already on the palette to just sort of pull it all together, especially under the stairs here. Here I'm using some of that nickel azo yellow along with a little Payne's Gray to get a warmer yellow tone for the grass shoots on the right side and by the rock, as well as under the stairs and the bush on the left. I also used it to put in some branches and trees in the background to give that upper area a little more dimension. To define the stairs a bit more, I'm just using whatever colors are already on my palette and going over the shadow areas to layer in the colors, make them a little darker. Using the colors that you've already used this way really helps to pull it all together, make it look like it's part of the same scene. So now that it has completely dried, I'm just going to go in with some white gouache to dot in some highlights in the trees and the leaves and on the staircase and in the water. Just make it pop a little more. So a lot of purists will tell you, well, you should really leave the white of the paper for your highlights, and yeah, absolutely, you should do that. But sometimes you just get carried away like I do, and I really like using gouache in a lot of my paintings. Mostly for splatter, but I feel like this makes it look really nice in the end. It just gives it that extra touch that makes it stand out. So if you'll notice, I use two different colors of tape. The green one is a 1/2 inch, and I use that all around the edge to make sure each side is the same width. And then the blue tape is a 1 inch, and I use that to either tape it down on a board, or in this case, I taped it to the pad itself, since this isn't a block and the sheets aren't glued on the sides. I really like this method because it keeps it portable and I can work on multiple pads at a time in the same area rather than having to leave the piece taped to the board while it dries. This is my favorite part of every painting, pulling the tape to see those nice clean edges. What do you think? Let me know in the comments, leave me a like, and make sure you're subscribed. I'll see you on my next video. Bye.